What's up, guys? I don't know how many takes this is, but it's going to be the first of a two-part series on Djeeta cooldown cycling. And I had recently reached this as a sub-goal, and people were interested in the topic, but once I kind of started to really get into making the video, I realized that there were a lot of core concepts that weren't really well understood, that you really need to understand in order to do these things. So I wanted to explain that here. If you just want to look at big bombos, second part. So first things first, right? Cycling your cooldowns. They're going to be on cooldown for your EX moves, and then you want to time out the recovery so that you have a pretty good scenario afterwards, right? Where you'll be able to use, say, even that fireball again or whatever, right? So that's kind of the aim here, right? And there are a couple of key things that actually play a really big role in this. One of them is safe jump structure, because you're going to be using your safe jump to kill a lot of time, right? Because that entire scenario is totally jailed. So it's on you to really be able to take advantage of that, right? You can use that time to, lengthen the amount of time you need for whatever reason, right? And the most pertinent one is cycling your cooldowns. So understanding how safe jumps work is really, really important, right? And you might say, I understand safe jumps just fine, SKD. Well, maybe you don't. So let's talk about safe jumps, right? The first thing, right? This looks like a very, very normal safe jump, I think. Right? I can't jump out of it, which is a given. It's a safe jump, right? Well, maybe. I can't DP it, right? I don't think I can roll it either. Yeah. Okay. So we've got a good safe jump here. If you're wondering about how that safe jump is executed, right? It's just dash, super jump, and then before you hit the ground, you hit back H and then 2A. The reason why you hit back H is to actually get the roll punish here. Right? So you get that confirm on hit, and on roll, if I can do this right, the close heavy will come out and get you a really, really fat punish. So they're kind of forced into a position where they want to respect here. And as you can see, she gets a really nice confirm, right? She gets to do this airtight 2A into close medium. It's great, right? Great. It gives you a lot of time to confirm. This is ideal. An airtight 2A. The reason why the airtight 2A is so important to be able to use is if your opponent is trying to delay DP, right? It's not gonna work, right? And if you're using easy input DP, right, they'll block the first hit and get hit because it's a 6 input for easy input DP. So those are pretty important concepts. It's the strongest setup that you can actually do, and getting this distance for the close medium confirm is kind of the goal here. The way you do it is you actually don't hit with the first active frame of your move for your safe jump, right? It actually has to hit on a later active frame. Hopefully I'll be able to show it pretty nicely here. Right. This is not the first active frame of the move that made contact. This is actually mostly specific to mid-screen, because in the corner there's a couple of different things to consider. But for the most part, mid-screen, you'll just do your safe jump just fine. There's nothing else to really think about, right? In the corner is where it gets a little abstract. So you have a couple of different safe jump options, and you might be thinking, why do I have to do anything different, right? Well, in this game, you can walk forward for 1 frame on wake up, right? It displaces your center, and these safe jumps, right, that are spaced so that you're as close as possible to get that 2A close medium confirm, just does not work the same way in the corner. If you wanted to see this, all right, it looks normal. Looks like the same thing as mid-screen, right? But if I'm holding forward right? I ate shit. Cool. But Djeeta lands in the corner. What? Right? So no, it's not because my safe jump is screwed up. Right? Because look, I'll do this DP. It says reversal, and it's a DP. Yeah, cool, we did it. There's the real safe jump, right? So what happened there? Well, you can actually walk forward for 1 frame. It's kind of weird to look at, but you'll see that it looks normal, but I actually displaced my center by walking forward for a frame. Let's see this in slow-mo. Right? Here we go. Djeeta JU is definitely hitting meaty here, right? But I am still able to walk for a single frame and displace my center. This is universal across these kinds of safe jumps in the corner unless you're properly spaced. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Sometimes you can just eat the hit and blah, 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 right? And this is all fine and dandy until you consider that, you know, maybe your opponent can survive a little longer by not taking a corner combo, which is why we have the next thing, right? So I don't want my opponent to do that, right? So here, I have another recording here where this safe jump, right? If I hit JU here, she can do the same thing. So I'm holding forward like a Chad on the second knockdown, right? But now I'm eating shit, right? And she lands in front. Huh. So the reason why that happens is because, right, even though this is the kind of like go-to for the safe jump, it does give you the most block stun, and it does let you get the close medium. If you use this move, it displaces her hurt box further backwards, so walking forward for a frame won't save her. This is instantly a really, really nice counter to have, right? You can still do the airtight lows, but you can see it pushes them back farther because you're not getting that same kind of like ambiguous falling spacing. So for this, you cannot do 2A close medium, right? You have to do something like 2A far light or something like that. And it kind of challenges you a bit for confirms. So it's just something to keep in mind, right? So that doesn't work, right? But that works. Huh. So those are the two kinds of safe jumps that you want to keep in mind, and those are kind of the core of your corner cycling game. Everything that I think I'm covering is going to be possible off of that kind of guess into like auto combo or like that, or rather this, right? And then you can go and do whatever you want. So those are the kind of core safe jumps that you'll need to know for the corner. Timing is actually pretty hard. Just gonna say that right now, because for this, right, you want this to get an airtight 2A and then close medium, and that is your ideal confirm because it will give you the most amount of options in terms of your confirms and the amount of time that you need to burn to cycle your cooldowns. It's hard. I will say it's hard, but look, you can have it cover everything, right? You can do it the same way in the corner as you can mid-screen, so just practice it. The timing is going to change a little bit depending on when your sweep hits and how high they are when your sweep hits, so it's just something that you kind of have to get a feel for. As a result, actually, I actually think it's pretty good because you can lend a lot of variance to your safe jumps, like normally, right? Okay, cool, yeah, we can do that. But if they're a little higher, right? Look at how I was a lot deeper there, right? So imagine if you get a different knockdown, right? Cool. But if I jump a little earlier, it'll whiff, right? So you can be a little tricky with this kind of thing. At the same time, one of your other options is, even if you jump at that same timing, you can use JA to delay your fall very slightly and still safe jump them, even if they think you're gonna be a little tricky or go for the empty low and stuff like that. So you can make your safe jump very variable and that kind of lends to a lot of the strength of these options. The next thing to know, right, before getting to combos is how offense is structured after this, right? I already talked about the airtight 2A beating DPs, right? And why that's important. Because suddenly they're put in a position where they really have to respect you, right? And look at this range, right? I'm whiffing throw here to kind of illustrate the range. You're in throw range here, right? Which also means that you can do stuff like this, right? And still really, really preserve that threat. They're not really gonna have a lot of opportunities to mash DP or reversals there. If they want to do something like a close L to mash you out, they have to be in neutral, back, or forward, right? Which means that if you do this, that 2A is gonna hit, right? Look here, I'm scared of the throw. I'm trying to mash 5A and I got hit, right? 6A, I get hit, right? And because you have so much frame advantage, when you throw at that spacing, you'll catch 6 frame normals. Because throw protection is only 5 frames, right? So suddenly, that 2A becomes a lot more threatening, especially juxtaposed against the throw. That's why you want to structure that way, right? It's important. It leaves your opponent's block stun to your discretion. You can kind of run along with it as long as you want. And normally you might be thinking, okay, it's whatever in this game, but as far as Djeeta goes, when you're cycling her cooldowns, you really need to understand how you're going to be getting your next hits, right? Because it's all about the next hit. The point of cycling it. So one of the important things to note when structuring stuff like this is, right, even if you do your safe jump, say you don't get the kind of spacing to get a fatty confirm off of 2A, and you have fireball, so you can't confirm this hit, well, how do we maintain threat here, right? We can kind of play a basic throw strike game, but she also has this, right? 5AA. And you might be like, I just saw SKD doing this. I have no idea what the hell this is, right? So this move has a special property in this game that the entire special cancel window, it's massive. It's her entire recovery on the move, right? Normally when you do a move, right? If you saw I pressed forward an ability button, I didn't get the DP here. Right? Because there's a no cancel window. There's a lockout where I can't special cancel my move. But for this move, it doesn't exist, right? This move's entire recovery is special cancelable, which means it's amazing for frame traps. Because when you're actually doing your block strings, even off of safe jumps, I can cancel at any point, right? And they have to be pretty wary of that. Right? I can frame trap with fireball here, or I can keep the entire thing airtight with fireball and then go for like, my pressure reset there. I get the frame advantage. I could even like still go for the frame trap fireball and B+, and they'd probably want to respect her a little more. Or I can delay and do Rekka, which is much faster in startup, and catch people trying to react to this kind of pressure reset, right? So suddenly, like, you have options, right? You have options. And knowing which special you have available is really important for making the most threatening knockdown situation possible. Sometimes for fireball, say like you do a knockdown and you end with fireball and Rekka, right? Your confirm options are fireball and Rekka, but if you do a forced corner safe jump, you have to use Rekka, right? So even though this setup has the risk of letting your opponent out of the corner if they choose to take the hit, there is threat that you can scare them with from doing that. And they are taking a hit anyway, right? So it's not too bad, but you need to do this stuff if you want to get fireball. So it does get you a little closer, which is nice. So anyway. Yeah, those are kind of the two core concepts and the most important parts of the structure. I know this was 15 minutes long and you feel like you didn't learn anything, but trust me, it is so important for the next set of things that you're going to be looking at. But yeah, so I'll wrap that up here and I will catch you in the next part.